The last of the guests were beginning to drift toward the front door, their laughter and the soft clinking of wine glasses melting into the cool, fragrant spring night. The fairy lights we'd strung together weeks ago swayed gently in the evening breeze, casting a soft, golden glow over the backyard we'd poured ourselves into over the past 5 years. I lingered by the sliding glass door, my eyes sweeping over the familiar faces still scattered across the patio, searching for Jenna. She had been off tonight, her laughter just a touch too sharp, her smiles not quite reaching those deep brown eyes I had once fallen so completely into. I had told myself for months that it was just work stress, a passing mood, a shadow of something that would eventually lift. But tonight, something felt different, more distant, a whisper of something unraveling just beneath the surface. When I finally found her, it was upstairs in the dimly lit guest room. She was sprawled across the neatly made bed, one shoe dangling precariously from her foot, her hair a wild, tangled mess against the crisp white pillowcase. The sharp, unmistakable scent of wine clung to her. But there was something else too. A perfume I didn't recognize, sharp and floral, clinging to her like a secret. Her phone buzzed softly on the hardwood floor beside the bed, its screen flashing with another late-night notification. She had forgotten to silence it, a small, uncharacteristic slip that set my pulse racing. I bent down, the dim light casting my shadow long and uncertain across the wall, and picked up her phone. I hesitated for a moment, fingers tightening around the cold metal, before I set it quietly on the dresser. As I straightened, Jenna stirred, her arm reaching out and catching me off guard as she pulled me into a clumsy, drunken embrace. Her lips brushed my ear, her voice a messy, whispered slur. "Leave me alone, Clark," she mumbled, her breath warm and tinged with the bitter edge of too much wine. "My husband might catch us." The room fell away, sound and air collapsing into a tight, suffocating silence. I froze, the blood in my veins turning to ice as her words echoed in my mind, their jagged edges tearing through the fragile fabric of my reality. Clark. She had called me someone else's name, in our house at our party. For a long, breathless moment, I stayed there, her arms still looped around my neck, her body heavy and oblivious against mine. And then slowly, I backed away, her hand slipping from my shoulder as I took a shaky step toward the door. She slumped back into the pillows, slipping deeper into her drunken haze, her lips parting in a soft, careless sigh. I reached for the door handle, my palms suddenly slick with sweat, and pulled it closed behind me, the soft click of the latch cutting through the thick, suffocating silence of the hallway. I descended the stairs on unsteady legs, my mind spiraling into dark, uncharted corners I had always managed to avoid. That night, I sat alone in the living room, the faint hum of the refrigerator the only sound in the house, a quiet, indifferent reminder that the world outside my shattered heart continued on, oblivious and unburdened. I stared into the darkness, my thoughts unspooling like the thin, fraying threads of a once unbreakable bond, each one snapping with a sharp, painful finality. Would you like me to expand this into a more developed scene? Or perhaps even continue the story? The morning light crept cautiously into the kitchen, cutting through the haze of the night before. I leaned against the counter, coffee steaming in my hand, watching the door. It swung open slowly, and there she was, Jenna, hair still a tangled mess, dark smudges clinging beneath her eyes like shadows she couldn't shake. She winced at the brightness, one hand rising to press against her temple, as she shuffled toward the coffee maker. Her eyes met mine briefly, confusion flickering across her face. "How did I get to bed?" she asked, her voice rough, tinged with the remnants of too much wine. "Did the party end late?" I forced a smile, carefully shaping my features into something soft, something familiar. "You had a bit too much. I carried you upstairs." She managed a weak, grateful smile, leaning in to press a light kiss to my cheek, before disappearing into the bathroom. The door clicked shut behind her, muffling the sound of running water. I watched her go, my jaw tight, my gaze hard. She hadn't noticed the way I was staring at her, like a predator eyeing its prey, calculating the perfect moment to strike. That was fine. I had already made my decision. I was done being the husband. Now, I was the architect of her downfall. I didn't confront her. Not immediately. Instead, I dug deeper. I had years of experience in data compliance, Years of training in finding the things people thought were safely hidden. And Jenna, for all her attempts at subtlety, had been careless. It didn't take long to find Clark. He was real. Married. One of our mutual friends. A client from one of her long-term accounts. A man I had shared beers with around my own grill. Laughed with over meaningless sports scores. Shaken hands within the confidence of supposed camaraderie. The betrayal cut deeper with every piece of evidence I uncovered. Texts, hidden WhatsApp messages, password-protected photo albums, hotel receipts, rideshare logs. She had tried to be careful, changing contact names, using private browsers. But she had no idea how much of her life was sitting in the cloud, waiting for me to uncover it. I compiled everything into a digital dossier, neatly organized into folders, screenshots, timelines, financial transactions, audio snippets from late-night calls. I named the file Her Truth, and backed it up on 3 separate drives, including one mailed to a friend out of state, just in case things got messy. I even looped in Clark's wife, Maria, starting with anonymous emails, and moving on to direct messages when she finally responded. It turned out I wasn't the only one preparing an exit. Maria was ready to burn everything to the ground too. She had known something was off, but lacked the hard proof until I handed it to her on a digital platter. 2 weeks later, I sat Jenna down at our kitchen table. I kept my face carefully blank, my voice measured, my heart a slow, steady drumbeat. "You seem distant," I said, leaning back in my chair, fingers loosely laced together. "Is there something you want to tell me?" She hesitated, her eyes flicking to her phone for a brief, telling second before she forced a bright, brittle smile. "Just work stress," she replied, her tone too light, too rehearsed. "You know how demanding things are with the Simmons account." I smiled back, matching her lie with one of my own. "Of course," I said smoothly, my tone a perfect imitation of concern. "Let me know if I can help." She leaned over, kissed me on the cheek, and turned back to her phone, oblivious to the trap I had so carefully set around her. I watched her retreating back, feeling a strange, cold satisfaction. The pieces were in place. The countdown had begun. The lake house came through a friend, a quiet, private place, perfect for what I had in mind. When I invited Jenna, she had beamed, her eyes lighting up with the hope that maybe, just maybe, we were on the mend. "You're really trying, huh?" she had said, a hint of nostalgia softening her features. I had smiled back, playing my part to perfection. "Always," I whispered, pulling her close for a kiss she had no idea was a silent goodbye. She had no clue I'd already filed for divorce on the grounds of adultery. She didn't know the bank transfers she'd made to Clark had been flagged, printed and stored. She definitely didn't know that Maria and I had been meeting twice a week, meticulously weaving a plan to dismantle their fantasy from both ends. The weekend retreat wasn't just a getaway. It was a setup. The lake house was real, but so were the microphones hidden in the bedroom, the camera tucked behind the living room mirror, and the texts I'd sent from Jenna's burner phone. "He's away. Come for one night. One last time." Clark took the bait, walking through the door like a fool in love, a bottle of wine in hand. Jenna's eyes went wide the moment she saw him, her face draining of color. "Clark, what are you doing here?" He stopped short, confused, his gaze flicking around the room. "Didn't you text me?" Before she could answer, the audio started playing from the speakers in the ceiling. My voice crisp and clear. "Hey Clark. Jenna. Welcome to the last night you get to lie without consequence." She screamed, a raw, panicked sound that cut through the air. Clark froze, the color leaching from his face as realization set in. I watched it all from the security feed in the guest cabin, my pulse steady, my heart cold. I didn't storm in. I didn't have to. The footage was already uploading to a secure cloud drive, set to autosend to HR at Jenna's company. HR at Clark's wife, Jenna's sister, her closest ally, and our mutual friends. The ones who always thought I was too quiet, too soft. Texts started flooding my phone. Jenna frantic, trying to explain. "We need to talk. Please. It's not what it looks like." I blocked her, then blocked Clark. Just after sending him a copy of the pre-signed legal complaint for workplace harassment, naming him and his employer. Maria delivered hers 2 days later, divorce filings complete with the evidence I had provided. In the weeks that followed, their worlds collapsed. Clark lost his job within 72 hours. HR didn't even wait for the complaint to play out. They pulled archived texts, flagged inappropriate expense reports, and walked him out of the building. Jenna was gently pushed to resign, not fired, but strongly encouraged to leave before the scandal spread further. Rebuilding took time. I stayed quiet, focused on therapy, reconnected with friends I'd let drift. I learned to enjoy my own company again. And eventually I met someone new, a friend of a friend. No games, no secrets, no lies. The lesson? Never react in rage. Move with facts, with clarity. And when it lands, walk away without looking back. Because the best revenge isn't destruction. It's indifference. And watching someone realize they burned down everything while you stand clear of the ashes. That's a satisfaction all its own.